Al Calder, our treasurer, congratulating the 50-50 winner. The fellas loading up the tables to take back. Dave Haney and Dave Whiffen cleaning up. Dwayne Krupp, Robert Broderick, Doug Schray, and Bob Rotley. Martin Blickman holding court. Walter Deer, Bill Whittlaufer, Roger Bender, and Greg Pye. Doug Schray, Bob Rotley, Robert and Marie Broderick, and Dwayne Krupp. Carl Nicholas and Bill Whitlaw for scrubbing the deep fryer. Walter Deer, Ron Whiffen. Martin Blickman doing what he does best. Fellows discussing how we can make it better. Martin, Carl, Stan Boyd, and Bob Whittlaufer. Gloria Whittlaufer, Steve Cahill, and Walter Deer waiting for takeouts. Ken and Mildred Lichty, Willis and Burl Bean, and Mr. and Mrs. Delmerzer. Bob and Doris Gladding and Ann Warnick standing. Dwayne Krupp, Al Calder, Carl Nicholas, Stan Boyd, Martin Blickman, Walter Deer. Martin Blickman, Stan Boyd, Dwayne Krupp, Al Calder. Cleaning up the cabbage cutter. The man with the money, our treasurer, Al Calder. Martin Blickman, putting on the gloves. Dwayne Krupp, Carl Nicholas. Roger Bender, Ron Whiffen. Bill Whittlaufer. Steve Cahill. Gloria Whittlaufer. Bill telling Gloria how it should be. Setting up the tables in the Memorial Hall. Ron Whiffen, Roger Bender, Walter Deer. Stan Boyd and Walter Deer. Our tomato man, at it again. The arrival of our cherry cheesecake dessert for the dinner from Rosemary's Restaurant in Shakespeare. Don McDonald, Roger Bender, Walter Deer, Steve Cahill discussing the dinner. Don McDonald. Martin Blickman, Steve Cahill. Al Calder and Keith Brenneman discussing the dinner. Martin licking his lips. Don, Steve, and Roger checking out the pork. Dwayne Krupp running the stove. David Whiffen and Martin Blickman. Dave Whiffen. Clarence Hurlick has delivered the pork and dressing. Al Calder checking out the dessert. Doug Schray enjoying the dessert. Al Calder, Keith and Chris Whiffen, and Susan Pello. Claudette Whittlaufer and Al Calder. Martin Blickman, Ed Pello. The Warnicks enjoying the evening. Kelly Whiffen, Ashton Whitlofer, Marlene Whiffen, Jacob Whiffen, and Rob Whiffen. Bob Whitlofer, Susan, Matthew, Jacob, and Rob Whiffen. Paul Schum as Ezra Stoltzfus. This is the stairwell that leads to the basement. Robert Broderick, Walter Deer, and Carl Nicholas. After taking out the old oil furnace, the oil tank was never removed from the building, and the boys decided to do it on a warm day in the summer. Martin Blickman. Finally, at the top of the stairs, Walter Deer and Robert Broderick taking a breather. What do we do with it now? Steve Cahill, Walter Deer. Steve and Walter repairing a chair. Bill Whitlofer, Martin Blickman, Stan Boyd, Bill Cozine. Martin's asking if anyone's hungry. Malin Lease, one of our longtime active members. The 8 reindeer that pull Santa's sleigh every year in the Santa Claus Parade have been well used, and that being the case, it was decided to repaint them. Steve Cahill spray painted the basic brown background, and the fine details was left in the capable hands of Donna Schwarzentrooper. Carl Nicholas in the bucket. We engaged G&R Management to supply us with a bucket truck in order to paint the steeple of the hall. Graham McKay and Martin Blickman. Steve Cahill. Steve pointing out to Martin that they missed a spot. The men's club were asked by the East Shore Tavistock Council to refurbish the water fountain in the center of Tavistock. Steve Cahill, Bob Roatley. Ron Whiffen. Steve Cahill getting some important instructions from Ray Youngblood. Carl Nicholas. Carl Nicholas and Steve Cahill giving it a paint job. Stan Boyd, Bill Whitlofer. Walter Deer, Keith Whiffen. Martin Blickman, Austin Herman on the tractor. These are our newly painted reindeer. Martin Blickman, Bill Whittlaufer, Dennis Holtz, Carl Nicholas, Ken Lichty. Santa Claus, Steve Cahill and Austin Herman. Mr. Fix-It, Martin Blickman. He told me to turn this and it should work right away. Steve Cahill, Ron Rudy. Steve Cahill trying to get to the center of things. It was decided, since we were changing the format considerably of our fish fry, that we use our members as guinea pigs in a trial run. So we served our members a white fish dinner with homemade French fries and all the fixings. Greg Pye, our resident gas man. Steve Cahill, battering the fish. Al Calder, Roger Bender, and Ron Brenneman. Ron Rudy, Steve Cahill, Al Calder. Martin Blickman, Roger Bender, and Gloria Whitlock. Bill Whittlaufer. Gloria got the men working. Steve Cahill, Carl Nicholas, Ron Brenneman. Busy taking the outside leaves off, cutting the cabbage in half and coring them, getting them ready for coleslaw. Bill Whittlaufer, Roger Bender. Mel Warnick. Stan Boyd, cutting up potatoes. Boy, that cutter works good. Keith Whiffen. Robert Broderick. New picnic tables from the park. Dwayne Krupp, cutting up potatoes with a shirt and tie on. Carl Nicholas, Bob Whittlaufer, Steve Cahill. Bill Whittlaufer, Mel Warnick, Walter Deere. Reuben Heuser, Steve Cahill, Ron Whiffen. Greg Pye. Martin Blickman, Roger Bender, Ed Pello. Greg Pye, our resident gas man. Steve Cahill, busy battering the fish. Martin and Steve discussing the process. Stan Boyd. Gloria Stock, Marlene Whiffen, Donna Brenneman. Stan going to enjoy his fish fry meal. Stan's son-in-law, Tom Bickle. Gloria Stock and the Brennemans getting their dinner. Builder of our cabbage cutter, Jim McDonnell. Roger Bender, Steve Cahill. Martin Blickman. Harry Lowry and Martin Blickman. Bill Whitlaw for pressing the cut cabbage. Dwayne Krupp. Cutting the core out of the cabbage with Steve Cahill's new tool. Steve trying to sell his new gadget to Carl. Roger Bender, Steve Cahill. Walter Deer, Carl Nicholas, Mel Ramsire. Martin Blickman. Perry Keller mixing the salt with the cabbage. Dwayne Krupp, Carl Nicholas, Derek Bender. Brothers Ken and Ron Brenneman. Ron Brenneman and Ken Lichty. Ken Lichty and grandson Cody. Robert Elliott. Karen Schrey. Dave Haney. Walter Deer. Jack Whitlaufer, John Lichty. Merv Schlegel. Bill Whitlaufer, Joan Rudy. Keith Whiffen telling Walter Deer how it should be done. Keith counting the pails. With our new cabbage cutter, we cut up 7 bins of cabbage into 139 5-gallon pails of cut cabbage in almost 3 hours. Michelle Reel. Charlie Whitlaufer. Steve Cahill. Diane Sparling. Cleaning up. Gloria Whitlaufer. Michelle Reel. Perry Reel, Keith Whiffen, Ron Brenneman. Martin Blickman, Gloria Whitlaufer. Wayne Schum. Martin Blickman. Steve Cahill and Bill Whitlaufer discussing the cabbage cutting process the previous evening. Pails full of cabbage. Robert Broderick, Carl Nicholas, and Walter Deer discussing the setup. All set for the cabbage to ferment. Walter Deer cleaning the tops of the pails. Walter Deer, Bill Whitlaufer. 2 pounds of cabbage in a bag. Steve Cahill, Ken Lichty. Walter Deer. Ed Pello, Ken Lichty. Austin Herman. Dwayne Krupp, Delmer Zare. Stan Boyd, Mel Ramsire. Carl Nicholas, Stan Boyd. Lauren Krupp, Bob Rotley. Lonnie Zare, Ron Brenneman. Ken Lichty, Ken Brenneman, and Austin Herman. Martin Blickman, Playing in the Water. Keith Whiffen. Keith Whiffen, Ron Whiffen. Steve Cahill. John Schultz, Carl Nicholas. Gloria Wetlaufer. Martin Blickman. Roger Bender. John Schultz. Ed Pello. Our brand new cabbage cutter. Gloria Wetlaufer, Roseberg, and Marianne Harold. Bill Wetlaufer, Marianne Harold, and Bev Lau. Marlene Whiffen, Bob Francis, Will Gunn, and Bob Rudy. Dave Sweet. Dwayne Krupp, Stan Boyd, Roger Bender. Carl Nicholas, Keith Whiffen, Ken Lichty, Walter Deer. Bill Wetlaufer, finishing up the process. David Stock, Doug Schrey. Steve Cahill, Ron Rudy. Martin Blickman, Ed Pello. Martin screwed up the stapler again. Ron Brenneman. Our newest member, Jim McGregor. Keith Whiffen.